Good Vak, Shavua Tov. Good after Shabbos. We're very egalitarian here. Cater to everybody. So, we're speaking on transforming relationships. First, a very big shout out and I thank you to Chazaq for helping to put this all together and the amazing work that they do on a daily basis. Tar Anytime, where there's is, and 100 and plus of my talks and some amazing Sherman talks. Hundreds and thousands of just brilliant speakers, ideas that transform people's lives, tens of thousands of people's lives on a daily basis, and certainly Chickens for Shabbos, an organization that does so much for so many people, very often behind the scenes. So, we're speaking about transforming relationships, and again, in this series, we're going to cover from soup to nuts, A to Z, everything that you need to know about how to improve, transform the quality of relationships with other people, even with yourself. And by the way, for the record, for those of you that are litigious, I say everything you need to know. I'm not guaranteeing you're going to be able to apply it, but at least you'll be able to know it. We spoke last week, about the idea about that people don't move forward from guilt. Telling someone that they've done something wrong, that they've made a mistake, if you bring out the guilt or the toxic shame in them, it does three things. A quick recap. Number one, we said that it makes them more angry with you, right? They like you less because you are now the source of their pain. Two is they like themselves less. You are causing them to see a reflection, a mirror of who they are and what they are, an aspect of themselves that they don't like. And three is they're justifying, they're rationalizing, they're minimizing whatever tool that Yetzer Hara will use. It's coming up with all the reasons and rationale as to why it is what they're doing is okay. So, laying on the guilt does nothing. So how do you move people forward? And again, we've got a lot to cover in this series. Once again, we'll be talking about, one, how to give criticism, how to receive criticism, how to have somebody explain something to you in a way that you can hear, how to be able to deal with controlling people, others, who try to control us, and perhaps we who may be a little bit controlling of others. We're going to be talking about dealing with feuds and conflicts and estrangements. And what's interesting is that I've written, some of you may know, 12, 13 books on different subjects, all under the umbrella of human nature. When I first started writing, by the way, I wrote books on psychology and self-improvement and personal development. And then I realized, though, that no matter how much somebody worked on themselves, no matter how much they were able to protect themselves from other people manipulating or taking advantage of them, or they were able to work on their own character, if fundamentally their relationships were bad, I'm not allowed to use, my wife doesn't let me use certain words, so if the relationships are bad, if they're stinky, then they had a very hard time feeling whole, feeling good about themselves. If they were suffering with, as a matter of fact, I once asked, and if you think, by the way, look around you, if you've got one or two people in your life you're having a difficulty with, it's okay, we all have those types of people, but if you have a problem with everyone, it may be time to look in the mirror. And you can call me, but check your insurance first. I was giving a talk once, I don't know, it was at actually Sinai and Daba in South Africa. Must be about 5,000 people. And I don't know, whatever possesses me, I take questions in the middle of a crowd like this. But I wanted to just sort of get some feedback. I said, is there anyone here who doesn't have anyone in their lives who's not, that's a poorly worded sentence. I said, is there anyone here who doesn't have anyone who's difficult in their lives? I think that sounds right. One person's hand shot up. And I said, and she was all the way in the back, and after a couple of, what did he say, what did she say? She said, yes, I don't have a single difficult person in my life. I was like, wow, okay, fine. So fast forward after the talk, she comes over and says, Dr. Lieberman, I want to thank you, blah, 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 blah. I said, hold on 1 second. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, certainly. But I have to ask you one question. Is it true that you don't have a single difficult person in your life? She says, yes, absolutely. I said, just to be sure, there's no one in your life who is difficult. She said, no. I said, what is your secret? She said, I cut them all out of my life. Okay, very nice. Easy to do, right? Take a sledgehammer or a scalpel to all of your relationships. Not what we're talking about here. We all have difficult people in our lives, and they wear on our emotional, spiritual, and physical health. And by the way, we talk to Hashem like sometimes like we're talking to the mafia. And we say, Hashem, so-and-so here, I would be so much more successful. I'd have so much more energy, so much more money. I'd have so much less heartache. I'd be able to accomplish so much more. What are they doing in my life? you gotta know that, you didn't hear it from me, but maybe they should slip, fall, move to Florida. I don't know, right? But it's sort of like, maybe you could do something behind the scenes. All these people in our lives are tailor-made, custom-made for our good and for our growth, which is why we have to ask ourselves the right question. What is the message for me? But that's going to be a conversation another time. I don't want to get too sidetracked. Right now, let's return to our original question of how do you give critique and tell someone they're doing something, right, that you want them to correct. So number one is this. You have to make sure that the timing is right. In that space where they're doing what's wrong, your ego may be engaged, their ego may be engaged, you're not able to connect and see clearly. The best thing you can do when you want to correct a person's behavior, be it yourself, be it your child, be it your spouse, be it anybody, when they get it right, celebrate it. For example, if little Chaim always gets his hand caught in the cookie jar, and you go over to little Chaim with his hand caught in the cookie jar and say, Chaim, are you taking cookies again? And he's wiping the crumb saying, no, I'm not taking cookies. And you sit him down for a mussar shmooze and tell him just how awful it is to take cookies and how terrible it is not to be honest and blah, 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 blah. The entire time, once again, he's thinking, I hate you, I hate me, and just wait till you see how clever I'm going to be about taking my cookies next time. The next time little Chaim walks by the cookie jar, but doesn't take any cookies. It could be Yom Kippur. It doesn't make a difference. You sit him down and you charge that with positivity. You tell him, I am so proud of you, Chaim. You are able to resist the temptation to eat the cookies. And then you talk to him about how important it is to not take things that don't belong to us, to listen to mom and dad. Whatever it is, you're charging that moment with positivity and you're letting him know that you appreciate it and how amazing it is. The entire time he's sitting there, 15, 20 minutes, feeling great about him, feeling great about you. And the next time Chaim wants to take a cookie, he's going to be thinking, I can't let my father, my mother, whomever it is down. One of the biggest mistakes we make, and again, we're talking about a lot of biggest mistakes and a lot of things we get right, a lot of things we get wrong, is we give people a self-concept to live up to or down to. Meaning, I hear parents say this and it can be maddening. Oh, there's my lazy bones over there. Can't get him off the couch for nothing. Do you think you're incentivizing the child to get off the couch when you call him your lazy bones? I want to tell you, when you have a child, you have anyone who is doing something in doing something that's injurious or not productive, when they get it right, if you got a child who's more rigid, I tell you, rather than say, come on, stop being so rigid, stop being so inflexible, how are you going to get blah, blah, blah. When he is flexible, those rare times when he's actually mavad to give in, that's when you say, there's my easygoing so-and-so. I'm telling you, it's transformative. And by the way, reshaping the self-concept, something we'll get into more another time, but you know how powerful it is in your own life, and people do it in very insidious ways, but not to be manipulative. Let's say, for example, somebody, for whatever reason, thinks that you are very an on-time kind of person, or you always keep the home tidy, or you're always very calm with your kid. The next time you see that person, you're going to make sure that you live up to the expectation, right? If this person knows you or sees you, for whatever reason thinks, oh wow, he's the most patient guy in the world, you are not going to lose your temper in front of this person because he's reshaped your self-concept and you want to live up to that expectation. And this goes triply true for a spouse and for our children. Give them something higher to live up to aspire to. So then, rather than beat them up when they get it wrong, let them know that when they get it right, that this is something amazing. Reshape their self-concept in the process. Say, you are somebody who can withstand temptation, who can really say the truth. I always tell my kids, particularly the small ones, I say, I'm always so proud when you tell me the truth. It doesn't matter what it is. And when he says the truth, even though he might have done something that was not 100%, rather than go to, why'd you do what you do? My first words are, I'm so proud you told me the truth. He beams, he lights up. And then we have a conversation, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so allowing somebody to see themselves in a more positive light will energize them, will energize the relationship, and help to move things forward. Now, there is a lot more to cover because when a person is not hearing the message, when you have a difficult relationship with somebody, You know, parents are always concerned about getting the right words. You know, what's the right thing to say? But more important than what you say to somebody is what you think of somebody. Once again, one of the best things you can do, and we've got a lot of things on our best list, is before you have a conversation with this person, you have to frame in your mind the good and the positive. If you come into it mad with a very myopic, annoyed, the world should unfold according to my expectations and entitlement, you're bad, you're doing wrong, it's going to go south fast. Take the right time. Again, you want to make sure that when you approach the child, you approach your friend, your coworker, neighbor, or spouse, whomever it is, yourself. It's done when nobody is hungry, tired, cranky, like Haley's Comet every 72 years. When you've got that right space, when you can have a conversation, that's when you approach. But again, even if you're dealing with somebody difficult, I just met with an amazing couple who having a challenge with a teenager. I said, put in your pocket or keep nearby a picture of this little guy when he had his, running around with his little diaper and his long curly hair, or when he was born 2 weeks later, maybe at the bris or at the Vachnach, whatever it is, where you still were filled with those warm feelings of just love and affection before they were able to talk back. But have that in mind, that space of just your love and the good. When you feel that, they'll feel that. And all the worlds will get filtered through that. But if you come into it with this is the kid, this is the wife, this is the husband who's just a source of my pain, no matter how calm you are, no matter how you sit them down, the conversation's going to go south. Make sure that the frame of mind is right. Frame yourself focusing on the good, focusing on the positive, focusing on everything that you appreciate in that person. There are always things to look for that are negative. We're very good at doing it. Some people better than others. But look for the positive, appreciate the positive. You know what? In the next talk, we're going to talk about something called the reticular activating system. Part of the brain located right here in the Luz bone that allows for us to focus in on the good and filter out the negative. It's a fascinating mechanism. We'll talk about it next time. But the takeaways here are as follows. When you want to correct a behavior, let the person know when they get it right. Charge it with positivity. And let me share with you actually one amazing story. I'm going to have to be careful about the details. So if it sounds a little abstract, it's only because I'm very sensitive that someone may think I'm speaking about them, because it applies to so many of us that I certainly don't want to offend or embarrass anyone who thinks I may be taking a conversation and using it for a purpose that would make them feel embarrassed if anyone knew it was them. That's a long way of saying I'm going to disguise the names. So I was giving a talk in an unnamed city, in an unnamed state, Brooklyn, and I was speaking about this idea about positivity. This guy came over to me afterwards and said, I got to share with you a story. And by the way, when they say that, when you're done speaking, speakers appreciate this. It's always something that you say, why didn't you say that when I was in there? It's a perfect rhyme, explanation, reason for what I just said that backs it up, but they'll tell you afterwards. In the talk, they'll argue with you, but afterwards, they'll tell you why, all the reasons why you're right. So he comes over and says, by the way, I want to share something. I was married for about 15 years, this guy's telling me. Now he's at that time of the conversation, he was married down 20-something years, but for about 15 years, he says always the same conversation with his wife about making the beds. Now, he was insistent she make the beds, why he couldn't make the beds and just simply do this, I think that's the motion, or had to say anything, and why she didn't want to make it, childhood issues, who knows, who cares, whatever it was, she wasn't making the beds, and he kept haranguing her about it. So, what happened is, one time, the Schwer, someone was coming over, and she made the beds. And he said, I genuinely and positively said, I really appreciate that you did this. I really want to thank you. I know for whatever reason I've given you a hard time. It's my stuff. It's not a big deal. And for whatever reason you haven't done it, but okay, it's all not a big deal. I want you to know, I really appreciate you made it this time. He said, I want you to know, in the past, whatever it was, 12, 15 years now moving forward, she has never not once made the bed. Right? That's it. See, when the person gets it right, you don't want to do one of those like, oh, very nice. Look who finally came to the table on time. Or look who finally came to davening. Oh, look who finally made... No. It's about being genuine and appreciating that the person got it right. Take yourself, take your ego out of the way. Lots more to talk about. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. And Mir Hashem, see you next time.